This is Dirshu Mishnah Berurah, Sif Aleph through Zayin in Siman Gimel. As you begin a new Siman today, a Siman all about the Hanhagas Beis HaKisei, the appropriate ways of acting in the bathroom. And by way of introduction, we'll just point out that bathrooms in the time of Chazal were quite different than bathrooms nowadays. There were outhouses, there were situations one had to use the bathroom in public, just behind the fence. Number one. Number two is our bathrooms are not only are they secluded areas, but there are areas in which the waste does not stay there. And that's a very, very large halachic discussion, which we'll reference many, many times. There's something called in the terms of the Gemara, Bisakisa de Parsai, which was aware that instead of the waste sitting on the bottom, all the waste would run away on some sort of incline. So the question is, since our waste sits there for a few moments, then it's flushed away, but it's clean and it doesn't smell dreadful, does that have a din of a Bisakisi de Parsai, which has much more lenient dinim, as we'll see many things that are going to apply. That's Akdama number one. And introduction number two is the same Ramesha, in which we mentioned yesterday, that Ramesha learns of Chiddush of Ramesha, Archaim Chilik Dalet Sim Zamaches, that a lot of these inyanim, that even though the Mishnah Berurah writes Isser, Ramesh says they're milei de chasidus, they're not isurim, they're milei de tznius, they're pious acts. Of course, it's what one should do, and if those who learn the Mishnah Berurah like us are not going to be the ones to follow it, then who will? But it's to realize that together with the fact that it might be a Beis HaKisei de Parsai that's clean, etc. Let's see the halachas together. So says the Mechaber again, Hanogas Beis HaKisei, the title's written by the Rav Yosef Kaira, the Mechaber himself, the ways of acting in the bathroom. Sheyichnas the Beis HaKisei, when one enters into the bathroom, Yomer, you should say, Yischabdi mechubadim. The honored ones should be honored. V'chulu v'achshav le'nagul aimram. Nowadays, we don't say this. What in the world is going on? You're walking into the toilet saying, honored ones should be honored. Says the Mishnah Berurah, you know what's going on over here? This is what you were saying to the malachim. Now, whenever you go, you always have two malachim escorting you. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkat and Aleph, Keinanu machzikim niri shemayim. We don't have such high levels of fear of heaven. Shamalachim lavim that angels accompany us, that we have to ask for them to wait. The words of the Mechaber of Eschabdu mechubadim, honorable ones should be honored, is a way of asking the angels, the malachim, wait for me. I'm entering the bathroom. Wait for me for a moment. Says Mishnah Berurah, nowadays, because we are not at that level, we don't have to say this cause we don't have angels accompanying us. And the question that everyone now is wondering is, what about Friday night? We all know we come home on a Friday night and we all know that we're escorted by angels. This is the reason why we're saying Shalom Aleichem. So Dirshu right away, no one of course, points out that Belel Shabbos, when you leave Shul, we're going to see later on in Chilek Gimel and Siman Rish Samach Beis of Kotin Gimel, that there are indeed malachim that are malava you. There are angels that escort you. And the Ben Ish Chai explains that these are angels that are coming l'chvay mitzvahs kiddush. They're coming for kiddush and not for yourself. It's true, we're not on that high level, but the angels are coming for the incredible mitzvah being mekadesh HaShabbos, not necessarily for yourself. So it's not a contradiction to that which we're seeing over here. And he continues by quoting the Amos Chaim, here's Chaim Zanefeld, the Rav Yushalayim, Shegamim B'derech LaBeis Shabbos, Hikanas LaBeis HaKisei. Now what? Interesting. We just said you don't have to ask the angels to wait when you go into the toilet, but what if it's Leil Shabbos, it's Friday night, and now you're going to a bathroom? So wait, maybe now should be the place where this Mechaber should come to play, that one should say, Chabdu Yichabdeni, one should ask the angels to wait for him. Says Rabbi Chaim Zanefeld, you still don't have to say it. Why not? Because the Malachim know what their job is to do. They know that they have to escort you, so you don't have to ask them to wait. And famously, he quotes over here the Chassam Sofer from Menhagei Baal Chassam Sofer. He did not say Shalom Aleichem Malachi Asheris on a Friday night, because he said there are no angels nowadays. We don't say Shalom Aleichem. But he continues and he says, but the Maharam Sheikh, the Talmud of the Chassam Sofer, says, what do you mean? I know that my Rebbe, the Chassam Sofer, did say Shalom Aleichem. So he says that the Chassam Sofer would say it in Binoyel Bein Atzma, he would say in privacy. He just didn't want to act in a haughty manner to show that he had angels. So he was writing that you don't need to say it because we don't have those levels of angels. But perhaps the Ben Ish Chai is the easier explanation for the rest of us that do say Shalom Aleichem, in that the angels are there not for you per se, but rather L'chvoid Shabbos. And now we continue. Sif Beis says the Mechaber Yitzanua Beis HaKisei, one should be Tzanua. Should be modest. Even we could add in, you should be modest in the bathroom. You should not reveal yourself until you sit down. Says the Mishnah Berurah, and so too you shouldn't stand up while you're revealed. Even in the bathroom, Hashem is everywhere. As we'll see, there might be a subtle difference that in the bathroom it's not an area of kavod, it's not a place that the Shekhinah necessarily is hanging out, but Hashem is at some level everywhere, and therefore you should never be overly revealed. Therefore, when you get up, you right away make sure that you're not revealed. And let's just point out, as many Baiskin, the Piskei Tshuva is really, is really where I got the Hakdama that I started off with today from, and he says another detail. You also have to realize our clothing is different. We nowadays wear pants. We don't wear long robes that cover the whole body, and that's part of the reason why some of these halachas might seem a little bit difficult to us, because they were wearing these long flowing robes, and therefore they had to be more careful with their body covered. With the advent of pants and shirts and undergarments, it makes life a bit easier. Says the Rama, and two men should not enter the bathroom together. Let's see the Mishnah Berurah, and let's say you're nervous, what are you allowed to do? As we turn over to the next side of the Mishnah Berurah, you're nervous, enter the bathroom by yourself, which of course makes a lot more sense if we go into the nostalgic world of outhouses. It's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're in some outhouse in the middle of nowhere, or it's the middle of the day and you're just nervous, so your friend should not enter into the bathroom, the Rama just taught us. So rather, what should he do? If there's a window, he can stick his hand through the window, put his hand on your head, but he should be careful. He should not see your private areas while you are using the bathroom. Also, you should not go into the bathroom when one is using the bathroom, even with one's wife. If there's a child that has no das, a little child, then you are allowed to enter into the bathroom with him. And now we go back, before we see a dirshu on this detail of the katan. Actually, let's right now see the dirshu with regard to this din of the katan. So dirshu over here in note number 2 says that a child that has no das, you're allowed to go in. What age is that? So he quotes over here from a Sefer Eretz Yehuda. It's a katan that doesn't know how to speak, but it continues the dirshu quoting a Ben Ish Chai b'shein the Chesla Alafim, that even a little kid, still there's a level of chinuch. You teach a child that a bathroom is not a place necessarily to hang out. A bathroom is not a place to go in together. And of course, it's something that everyone has to be aware of the appropriate ages, etc. And now we go back to the Ramah. On the top of the page over here is page Zayin in the Mishnah Berurah. You should not talk in a bathroom. And you should shut the door to the bathroom because of sneas. So it says the Mishnah Berurah, there's a big need to talk. You're allowed to talk before you're actually actively using the bathroom. But while you're using the bathroom, while you're defecating, says the Mishnah Berurah. And then the Ramah said to shut the door. Let's say you can't. If someone wants to walk in and you're in the middle of using the bathroom, but you're not supposed to talk, so you should grunt to each other, and you shouldn't talk. But says the Mishnah Berurah, women that go to the bathroom that were in the fields in their days, or that are in the courtyards of the shul, the woman should, yes, talk in the bathroom. Why? Today, for the same reason, again, we're trying to figure out what's the greatest level of tznius, of modesty. So for a man, what are you talking? But for a woman, says Mishnah, she should talk. Why? So you hear her voice outside, and a man shouldn't walk in. Again, you have this nostalgic outhouse, or you have some sort of makeshift bathroom. Not men, not women, no doors, no anything. So how are we going to make sure not to run into a terrible situation? So the woman should talk, so the men don't enter, and cause a situation of yichud. And the Mishnah says it sounds like over there that the woman would even lechatchila go in pairs to the bathroom. And now we go over to Dirshu note number 3. Says the Dirshu, quoting the Shulchan Aruch Haraf, what is the reason you're not supposed to talk in the bathroom? He says sneeze. And the Sefer Charedim says, you know why? Cause of shadim. And then continues the Dirshu, the obvious discussion. But if you're telling it's cause of shadim, the Chazon Ish is not sure. And as well, Ramesha Feinstein says the same. If it's the same thing in nowadays bathrooms, like we quoted a base like Kisi de Barsai, which might not have the din of a bathroom because the tzaya, the excrement is not sitting there. It goes far away. Or maybe because it's there a little bit, it does have a din of a bathroom. But he says, Lamaisa says the Chazon Ish, it's better to be machmir. Don't even talk in our bathrooms. And so too the Chassidzik says the same. One should be stringent. Rav Yashiv as well says similarly. And Chaim Kanievsky says asla daber even in our bathrooms because of tznias. And look in the Abi Omer. And then he says, but what if you go into the bathroom not to use the bathroom? Which, by the way, before we continue, now everyone realizes where's the makam to be makel in our bathrooms. As the Sefer Charedim is saying it's because of shadim. Where are their shadim? The shadim are out in the field. The shadim are out in outhouses. The shadim are not hanging out in your private toilet inside your bedroom. But that's one reason. Chaim Kanievsky says there's still the element of sneeze, so you shouldn't be talking. And even in the element, now do our bathrooms have a din of bathroom? So the Chazon Ish, Ramesha, they're all not sure. So it's better to be machmer. It's not necessarily the place to be sitting and schmoozing is in the bathroom. But continues Dirshu note number 3 over here, and he says, what if you're in the bathroom not to use the bathroom? He says, if you enter in not to use the bathroom for another reason, for example, you're fixing the bathroom, etc., or maybe you're going to give a kid a bath, etc., says Chaim Kanievsky, me'ikar ardin, it's mutter now to talk, but you shouldn't necessarily be the place of schmoozing. But again, we can couple this together with another detail as well. Not only will our bathrooms potentially be a basic kisi de parsai, but our bathrooms as well as other usages to them. It's not just a toilet. There's the shower, like we mentioned. Some will say that there's the storage area in there for towels, etc. There's the vanity. All these areas, remove it from this stigma of this area of filth, of this area lacking sneeze, of this area of shadim, and that's the reasons why it is allowed to talk, certainly if one is using, giving a kid a bath, etc. And now continues Dirshu note number 4 in the next column, in which he says, let's say you're allowed to talk. He quotes the Shut Torah Lishma, Shal Zetshuva Torah Lishma. Now, you don't have to be careful just to say 2 words. Once you have a heter, you're allowed to talk normally. What about talking in Lashon HaKodesh, instinct Shaila? He quotes the Sefer Chasidim, Midas Chasidas La'achmer. You don't want to use a holy Lashon inside a bathroom, but he quotes Afikim Maginim that says at a place where that's where everyone talks, you don't have to necessarily be careful, even Midas Chasidus. Okay, so maybe we have to go to Meir Sharim, and that's those that they don't talk Ivrit, they talk Lashon HaKodesh, what they do in the bathroom. Well, if Devarim Elu, he continues the Dirshu note number 5, the Minchas Yitzchak says, that what Shulchan Aruch is going to teach us later on in Siman Bey, hey, that you're allowed to talk to Chulin. Beisakizi is only before you use the bathroom. He's answering up a stira. There it sounds like it's not a problem. Here we see it is a problem. So the Dirshu is explaining for the Minchas Yitzchak, before you use the bathroom, Makim Sar Gadol is going to be allowed, and we'll add on that our bathrooms basically it's the brasai, and they're clean, and they have the shower and the vanity and all the other good things, is all the reasons that there's room to be makel. Again, it's not necessarily the place to be having a long conversation, but there is room to be makel to talk in the bathroom. And we continue now, and now we're going to take the Mechaber straight from Sif Gimel all the way to Sif Zayin. Says the Mechaber, you want to use some sort of rack to open up the orifice, open up your, and to allow you to use the bathroom, some sort of stick, to open yourself up. You use before you sit down. Why? Because it's bad for kishuf. Says the Mechaber, continuing in Sifdal, should only reveal the backside, tefach, 1 tefach, umilfanav, tefachayim, 2 tefachim, ve'isha me'achayreha tefach, and a woman reveals herself from the back, 1 tefach, umilfanav, loiklum, because she has no necessity to reveal herself from the front. Sif hey, says the Mechaber, and if you have to use the bathroom in an open area, she'ein by mechitzas, there are no walls, yechavein, you should be careful, she'ipanav lidarim, you should face the south, v'achrav litzaf, and your back should be north, or north to south, aval bein mizrach lamayir, to face east and west, that's a problem, usher, because that is where the Shechina is. But says the Ramal, if you're just urinating, it's always mutter, which of course lessens the shaila for us, because if any time someone perhaps is going to have to use the bathroom in a public area without a toilet, it's generally going to be lahatel mayim. Says the Mishnah Berurah, sifkoten hey lemashmish, and meino yachol afanes. If one cannot use the bathroom, it's talking about opening yourself up with a rock or a stick. Yelich talaramas, Yeshua gives you an eight, so you should walk. V'yishav sit down, v'yamin and stand up. V'yishav sit down, until you're able to use the bathroom. When you see achtayitim edvar macherim, or some don't think about other things, they concentrate on your ability to use the bathroom. V'layifne ba'amida, and don't defecate standing. Tefach, so you're supposed to reveal yourself in the front. Two tvachim and the back one tefach. Lo yoser, no more. Misham snias. Umalafanav tevachayim in the front two tvachim. The mitach shu daichek. As aspelik dailim, you're pushing for a gedailim who baladik danim. It's also going to come you to lead to ketanim to urination. V'sar tefachayim, and you have to reveal yourself two tvachim. Why? Misham kiluach, because of the stream meiraglayim, and he doesn't lemerachuk that could spritz far away. V'abach kazav denachanachmer sheyugam milafanav rak tefach. Tefach says you even open up only the front for a tefach. V'lo yiskimo yimay harbim me'achreinim and achreinim. Do not concur with the Bach on this detail. And now we have to quickly look at the Shartzion. Yid over here, and he says, the Shartzion points out, Tilketanim lefanav tfachayim upashit dim hoylech b'mechnasayim. Says the Mishnah Berurah, if you're wearing pants, umashtin ma'umad, and you're using the bathroom standing up, gam tfachayim lo yigal. You don't have to open up your pants to tfachim. Kim kemach etzarech, as much as necessary. We have a zipper, a beautiful invention. You don't have to open up much more. Back into the Mishnah Berurah is finishing Sivkot and Youre. Make sure not to get your clothing dirty. And again, this is more relevant when one does not have a proper toilet and he's just using the bathroom wherever he can. Sivkot and Zayin Megulav b'chatzer b'cholin in Shari kasav beis Yosef. When you're in a chatzer, you don't have to worry about which direction you're using the bathroom. But the Magen Avram, v'Magen Avram. Avalataz hiski memari avu of the Taz is machmer the b'chatzer gamkein aser. Even in a courtyard, you should be machmer be'emsa chatzer ben mizrach lamayrav. Should not use the bathroom in east and west. The aloi megulu b'isa makom because it's revealed. The mleisha mekari batzma l'sadecha meksal unless you go to a wall v'kakos of a drisa v'shachreinim. And of course, that's good answer anyways to go to the wall as best as possible to cover yourself up. Shein by mechitas, avalam yesh by mechitas. V'avilu rak mechitza has only one wall. It's on Meirav to the west. Yeshib is on mechitza b'samach like go closest to the wall like we just said. Then al kapanim sochtal and hamois v'achayrav l'mayrav and your backside will be to the west. Klabi mechitza towards the wall. V'nif nesham v'chein ma'kreis of mizrach of the walls in the east. Yeshib is samach l'achayrav l'mizrach. V'yesh v'achayim is them Mishnah Berurah l'shalafanav. Well, it's on Meirav, some are more machmir, because it's making yourself open in the back to the west. That's who the Shechina is. Makom she'efshir toiv la'achmir, and of course, Makom she'efshir one should be machmir, but again, not so relevant. Because we magadim dein shir legoiva mechitza, it's not so high as to be rak kol she'ein beirua megula ayedei zeh shari ayeh b'chav yisham de'evcha loi v'toiv lizar b'zeh bein mizrach l'mayrav misham da Shechina shari b'mayrav, as the Mishmur just said, the Shechina is in the west. Afilu machzer panav l'mayrav, even if you turn to the west. Also, the Mizrach Shu Negin Mayrav Yishla Gamkin Kedusha. And we're going to go finish up over here in Siv Vav, which is a mimicking of Siv Hey in the directions that one has to be careful with. Says that in the Mechaber in Siv Vav Chinasar Lishon, you cannot sleep. Bein Mizrach LaMayrav Tinis and West Im Ishtoi Imoi. And the Mechaber says, V'nochin Lizar, you should be careful. So we're seeing it's not stam which way your bed should be. When one is having marital relations with his wife, with him, that is when he has to be careful not to be being Mizrach Lamayr, because that's where the Shechina is. The Mechaber says, Nachli Zayir, even when your wife is now with you, but comes on the Mishnah Berurah over here. The head of the bed to the north, the Margalais Lidarim to the south. Ubechuvas Minchas Azaria, Posai Kamoshikos of Azariah, Parsham Midvar, Shei Roisha, Margalais of Shalmita, Zelamizrach, Zelamairav, this to east, this to west, Viskim Sham, Shei Roisha, Lamairav, Akakos of Arthas Chayim, Shem Kamach Reinim, Umekal Malkam, Tav Yoisel, Chatchil, Linak Shachanarach, Julik Shachanarach, Kibachuvas Binish Simcha, Kos Shem Hagoin, Sha'amar, Shagam Kavanos Azayaru, Kagamar, Lokipir Sharamah. And now, if you look there, you don't have to be nervous about unless you're sleeping in the nude, you're not wearing any pajamas at all, nothing surrounding you. So this whole bed situation is, first of all, nothing to do with the head of the bed towards the door, anything like that. That is not sourced in Shulchan Aruch Mishnah Berurah. The one thing that is sourced is direction, east to west. because of the Shechina, and the simple understanding is the Shechina is more present in one's bedroom. But of course, if one is not with his wife, the only issue is if one is sleeping undressed without any covers, etc. If one is with his wife, then there is a mailu, we'll call it, in order to try to be between east and west. We'll pick it up from Sif Zayin in the next year, Emir Hashem.